सरस्वती व्यासं ततो जयाउदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भागवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवतिर्नैष्टिकी ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगं लंघते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुतीरतारणं परमानन्दं माधवम्। So we'll continue our discussion from the third canto, chapter 29, verse 23. Dvishtaparaka mama manino binadarshanah bhuteshu baddhavairasya na manashantim racchati. One who offers me respect but is envious of the bodies of others and is therefore a separatist never attains peace of mind because of his inimical behavior towards other living entities. So beginning from verse 21, the Lord is talking about the offenses and obstacles in the path of bhakti and its possible solution. So 21 to 24 are the offenses, and the offenses come in the category of Vaishnava Prad, whether it is offense against the Lord, against the demigods, or against the living entities. So Lord Kapila he draws a wide net that any living entity, not just devotees, and then he'll give the solution how to deal with this offense. So in this verse, he is talking about the severity of this offense. So he says, one who offers me respect. Right? So you would think that such a person is properly situated. But the Lord says, but is envious of the bodies of others and therefore is a separatist, never attains peace of mind because of his inimical behavior towards other living entities. So verses like these, they superficially seem to contradict verses in which it is said, Yatha Kalpataror, that one who waters the root of a tree does not have to worry about watering any other portion of the tree. Or one who takes to devotional service is automatically freed from all the obligations to the society and the king and the guru and the parents, etc., etc. And in this, the Lord is saying that even if the person is offering respect to me, if he is disrespectful to the others, then he will never attain bhakti. So how do we reconcile that difference? And the difference is that when the verses talk about the worship of the Lord as the root of everything, what they say is that everything else is nourished in relationship to the Lord. It does not mean that the other things are not nourished. They are nourished, but in relationship to the Lord. Srila Prabhupada would, there used to be a diorama on that. And I remember we used to do these skits for the Festival of India in DC, where we would have a person coming in and watering a tree. And then he would have like a small spoon by which he would be putting water on all the leaves. And then a person would come and say, "What are you doing?" And he would say, "I'm watering the tree." And then he would say, "No, you need to water the root." So that kind of indicates the mentality of a person who is serving the other living entities as separate from the Lord. But one who sincerely serves the Lord will also serve the living entities. He will not be bhinna darshana. Lord Kapila calls such a person as bhinna darshana, which is Vishwanath Chakravarti says is a bhinna darshana is one who does not recognize that his own suffering is also felt the same way in others and vice versa. Right? So who makes a distinction between his own happiness and that of others, and between others' suffering and his own suffering. So Srila Prabhupada says that in this verse, the two phrases, Bhuteshu Baddha Vairasya, which is inimical towards others, and Dvista Parakhaye, envious of another's body, are significant. One who is envious of or inimical towards others never experiences any happiness. And this could be an interesting point of a discussion, that what if somebody is sincerely, steadfastly, with full attention, worshipping the Lord and neglecting the jivas? What kind of a devotee would that person be? And these verses give an understanding of the answer to that question. That such a person is not considered to be a devotee, because if one is sincerely worshipping the Lord, he will see everybody in relationship with the Lord. It's a point that's made by Lord Kapila in the next verse. Prabhupada in the purport, he also relates this to the notion of vegetarianism. He says that it is specially mentioned here that a devotee must be free from all violence, jiva ahimsa. Lord Chaitanya has recommended that a devotee should not commit violence to any living entity. Sometimes the question is raised that since vegetables also have life and devotees take vegetable foodstuffs, isn't that violence? And then Prabhupada answers that question. So firstly, he says that not all vegetables are in the category of ahimsa. If somebody is taking the leaves or the fruits, then one is not killing the tree. Then the second explanation is that he gave in the previous verse is related to jiva jivanam jivasya, that one living entity lives on the basis of the life of other living entity. But only that which is sanctioned by the Vedas. And the third point that Prabhupada gives is a more transcendental point, that when a devotee, according to the principles that are prescribed, offers foodstuff to the Lord, then they also get an opportunity to make devotional advancements. So if somebody takes an apple and offers it to the Lord, then the Jivatma that is residing in that apple tree also gets the benefit of devotional service. Okay, next verse, 24. Uchavayir dravye kriyayato panayanaga naivitushya chitorichyam bhutagrama vamaninaha. My dear mother, even if he worships me with proper rituals and paraphernalia, a person who is ignorant of my presence in all living entities never pleases me by the worship of my deities in the temple. So the quality of Bhutagram Avamanina, which translates to being disrespectful to other living entities, is strongly condemned by Lord Kapila here. How strongly is he condemning it? That even if it is accompanied by devotional service according to the prescribed rules and regulations, he says even then it will not please him. So in the 11th canto, the Lord says, and this is in the context of the Avanti Brahman pastime, that sharp arrows which pierce one's chest and reach the heart do not cause as much suffering as the arrows of harsh, insulting words that become lodged within the heart when spoken by uncivilized men. So the principle that is in play over here is the love of the Lord for his creation, specifically for his living entities. So if you imagine a situation where a father has many children, and there is one child who is taking care to respect the father and offer foodstuff to the father, but then he goes around beating his siblings. The father is never going to be pleased because he has the same relationship, even though if the other siblings are averse to the father. Even if they have turned their back to the father, still the father will not be pleased by the activities of the child. So the principle in play over here is the love of the Lord for his creation. And the second principle in play over here is the essence of bhakti. So what is the essence of bhakti? It's not deity worship. It is not following rules and regulations. It is not offering paraphernalia. They are all vehicles. They are vehicles to express the love for the Lord. And how does one express the love for the Lord? By loving that which the Lord loves. So Krishna is fond of his creation, which is why devotees are very conscious of nature. They try not to exploit nature. They don't try to destroy things unless absolutely needed for survival. So that is reflecting their love for what the Lord loves. Similarly, the Lord loves the jivas. And the jivas who sincerely love the Lord will also reflect that love. So Prabhupada makes this point that the real purpose is to exhibit one's loving devotion to the Lord. The offering themselves are secondary. If one has not developed loving devotion to the Lord and simply offers many kinds of foodstuffs, fruits and flowers without real devotion, the offering will not be accepted by the Lord. Okay, next verse, 25. Archada varchaye tavad Ishwaram mam swakarma krat yavanna veda swahridi sarvabhuteshu avasthitam. Performing his prescribed duties, one should worship the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead until one realizes my presence in his heart and in the heart of other living entities as well. So in 3 verses, 25, 26, and 27, the solution to these obstacles to bhakti is offered. And the solution is simple, that you perform your duty, your prescribed duty, and continue the practice of bhakti. So this verse also addresses an implicit misunderstanding that one might have. So one might say that, well, the Lord is all about love. That I love the Lord, I love nature, I love the jivas. So if I'm able to, if I'm able to develop that love, then there is no need for me to follow any rules and regulation. So this verse is cautioning against that approach. The point is making is that both are needed. The expression of love should be there, and the performance of the prescribed duties should also be there. And actually, they are not two different things. They are the same thing. Because when one loves somebody, then one will also act in a way to please that person. So these prescribed rules and regulations are established by the Lord himself. And when one follows them, then the Lord is pleased. So obedience and surrender, they are the core aspects of love. Right? You cannot say, I love you, but I don't really care about you. I love you, but I'll do everything opposite to what you say. That's not love. That's just fake sentimentality. So Lord Kapila is explicitly stating here that one performs the prescribed duties out of love, and one practices bhakti to continue to develop that love. And the way that Krishna has set everything up, that when one follows this path, then both these paths will nourish each other. That through the performance of the prescribed duties, one becomes purified. One attracts the mercy of the Lord. And through the performance of bhakti, one attracts the mercy of the devotees. And one also begins to develop more and more spontaneous love. So we see that as one performs bhakti, then one automatically takes to the more sincere following of the rules and regulations. And this is especially true in the early stages. So Lord Kapila says, Yavanna Veda Swaradi Sarvabhuteshva Avasthitam. That until one realizes my presence in his own heart and in the hearts of other living entities. So the process that is recommended is essentially Karma Mishra Bhakti, unless one comes to the stage of Shuddha Bhakti. So in the earlier stages, the senses are impure. So the tendency to disrespect other living entities is there, because it's just a symptom of impure senses. And when one advances, then the antakarnas, or the four subtle senses, the impurities in them are eliminated, so this disrespect is not possible. Now, at this point, one may or may not perform the prescribed duties. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti says that with the appearance of the state of seeing the Lord in all beings, the person should no longer perform Karma Mishra Bhakti, since he is no longer qualified for karma. So here he uses qualified in a different way, not that he loses qualification for karma, but he no longer depends on karma. And then he says at this stage he can perform Jnana Mishra Bhakti and focus on worshipping the deity form of the Lord. So Prabhupada says that the word Swakarma Krat in this verse is very significant. Swakarma Krat is one who engages in discharging his prescribed duties. It is not that one who has become a devotee of the Lord or who engages in devotional service should give up his prescribed duty. No one should be lazy under the plea of devotional service. Swakarma Krat means that one should discharge the duties prescribed for him without neglect. And we see this situation around us also. The devotees who are sincerely making progress, they are also sincerely executing their prescribed duties. Whether it is the job that they're doing, whether it is their responsibility as members of the society, as family, as sons and daughters and parents, because they are seeing it all as an anga of bhakti. Okay, let's do the next verse, 26. Atmanascha parasyapi yah karotyantarodaram tasya bhendrasho mrityu vidade bhayam ulbanam. As the blazing fire of death, I cause great fear to whoever makes the least discrimination between himself and other living entities because of a differential outlook. So those who make a distinction between the self of the others and those who make a distinction between the others, they do so because of being on a material platform. And Lord Kapila says that such people, they will be always troubled by the prospect of losing such material things. Why? Because they are anchored on the material conception. In the next chapter, when Lord Kapila talks about time, then he makes this point that what does it mean that time is destruction? So really speaking, time is not destruction. It is only destruction for those who are on the material platform. For them, time is the agent of destruction because they are seeing things from a material perspective, and material things by nature are temporary. So for them, time is destructive. Now, in this verse, Lord Kapila says, I cause great fear to whoever makes the least distinction. He says, with the bhayam, I cause this fear. Now, he uses a bit of a poetic effect over here, because the real cause of the fear he has already mentioned in almost every verse in the last 3 or 4 verses, is what Prabhupada calls the separatist mentality, the bhinna drasha. It is that which causes the fear. That this is I and mine, and this is everything else. This is what is resulting in the jiva taking on a material body. This is what is resulting in the consequent impermanent associations. And this is what is creating the fear of losing, whether it's losing your body or losing your material possession. Now, when Krishna says, I cause it, which means that this whole so this is essentially the law of material creation and the law of karma. So Krishna is the one who has created that law, and because of that, this suffering and fear is there. So yes, in a way, Krishna is causing it, but ultimately it is the jiva who's causing it, because Krishna is not forcing anybody to act in a way. All that he's saying is that if somebody acts in that way, then this is the consequences. So even though Krishna is taking culpability, but the actual culpability lies with the jiva himself. Verse 27. Athamam sarvabhuteshu bhutatmanam kritalyam arhayedan manabhyam maitra binena chakshusha. Therefore, through charitable gifts and attention, as well as through friendly behavior, and by viewing all to be alike, one should propitiate me, who abide in all creatures as their self. This is the solution. Let's see Krishna in everyone. And when one sees Krishna in everyone, then one will treat everyone with love and respect. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says the problem says that at this point, Devahuti might object that, my Lord, if somebody starts acting like that, then all the starving jivas on this earth will congregate towards this person. And who will have the patience like King Rantidev to feed them all and starve themselves? We all know the pastimes of Rantidev, right? When he was fasting and for 40 some days, and when he was looking to break his fast, then the devas to test him, the Brahman came, the Kshatriya Vaishya, the dog, and the Chandal came. And even though he was on the verge of death, he kept giving everything away. So Devahuti might say that there's only one Rantidev. So if people start acting like that, they will not be able to maintain. So in answer to that, in the verse it is said that Ataha, on the contrary, they should worship those living entities with gifts as much as they can. So one should act according to one's capability. And capability doesn't necessarily mean your checkbook or the opulence you have. One should also act according to the capabilities that have given to you by your adhikar. And so if one is at least trying to be at this stage but is still not at that stage, then they can start by giving something in charity to the deserving. That amount of charity that does not evoke resentment in them, anger and envy in them. So that kind of charity that they can give happily as a matter of duty without expecting any returns. Not only charity of in terms of gifts, but friendly behavior. So friendly behavior means that they should not condemn or criticize. Once they have helped a person, they should not expect the person to become subservient or obligated to them. But actually, along with charity, they should also give respect and praise. Vishwanath Chakravarti actually says that one should overcorrect, because the tendency is that if one gives in charity to somebody, then this inherent sense of superiority appears in the mind, that I am feeding 100 people. If I was not there, these 100 people would be starving, or because of me, this activity is being done. So in order to protect against that mentality, he says that one should overcorrect. How? That when you give something in charity, along with that charity, you should also give the person greater respect than themselves. So you should consider the person to be higher than you. So one should think that by a fortunate set of circumstances, this person has given me an opportunity to serve my Lord. He is closer to the Lord than I am, because he is offering me an opportunity to make devotional advancements. He is superior to me, and thus I should give him greater respect. So it's like what is the cure for criticizing devotees? You praise them. What is the cure of developing pride? Is that you render service. And this is the cure for considering yourself superior to those that you give in charity, that you actually give them more respect than yourself. In the third canto, the Lord, when he was chastising Jai Vijay, he says that on the other hand, they captivate my heart, who are gladdened in heart, and who in the lotus face, enlightened by nectarian smiles, respect the Brahmanas, even though the Brahmanas utter harsh words. They look upon the Brahmanas as my own self and pacify them by praising them in loving words. Even as a son would appease an angry father, or as I am pacifying you. So this is the Lord who is speaking when the four Kumaras had cursed the gods. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives us and the importance of being practical about it. He cautions us against an overzealous interpretation of this verse. So the point that he makes is that the love and respect of the jivas is a reflection for the love and respect for the Lord, and not the other way around. So this is not one of those things that is communicative. That if A is equal to B, B is equal to A. This is not one of those things. So one cannot say that if I love and respect the jivas, I am loving and respecting the Lord. No. However, one can say that because I love and respect the Lord, I am loving and respecting the jivas. So Prabhupada actually says this notion of equating service to the jivas as service to the Lord is actually the impersonalist notion. He said here it is distinctly mentioned that the individual soul should be recognized in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The method of worshipping the individual soul is described here as giving charitable gifts or behaving in a friendly manner, free from any separatist outlook. So one should so there was a term that was started, I believe I'm not sure it was started by Mahatma Gandhi or somebody else, called Daridra Narayan. Right? That you should consider the poor to be like the Lord. And
Vivekananda.
Swami Vivekananda, sorry. So Srila Prabhupada objected to it. He said that if Daridra Narayan, then why not Dhani Narayan? Why would the Lord discriminate and only appear in the Daridra and not in the Dhani? What fault have they manifested that they have been cut off from the Lord? So he was criticizing this mentality of seeing the jiva separate from Krishna. Of course, Srila Prabhupada, by his own actions, he demonstrated the importance of charity, especially to those who need it, but always in connection with the Lord. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says that that further evidence that this does not include or subsume the soul's relation with the Lord is indicated by the word man and dan. So man is respect that you give to a superior, and dan is that which you give to an inferior. So Krishna cannot be inferior, hence there is no question of giving charity to him. Now, as far as the jivas are concerned, they acquire a status as a result of their karma, which is temporary. So the man that is given to a jiva will also by nature be temporary. So when we apply this principle, then what we can understand is that one should not simply be respectful to the superiors. So one should not give man just because of karma. One should not give dan just because of karma, because man and dan, which is superior and inferior, are the result of karma. So today somebody who is superior to you, you may be superior to that person tomorrow, right? Because of the influence of karma. A person that you're giving in charity to may be giving you in charity because of karma. So man and dan, they will constantly fluctuate. But if one has to be steady in both man and dan, that can only be achieved when one understands the two tattvas, which he explains. One, when one sees that the Paramatma is living in each and every living entity, so automatically one gives man, one gives respect. The second is that the Paramatma is always the same and transcendental. So even when one gives dan, then one does not think that they're giving it to the Lord or to the jiva. They're only giving it because of the confluence of the circumstances. So if one understands these two, then one will be able to develop the samadrishti that Lord Kapila is requesting us to develop. Right? So it's a slightly technical analysis, but same point that is made. Okay, so let me pause over here. After this, there's a new section of the chapter, and see if we have any discussion.
Prabhu, could you please repeat the last thing that you said about Man and Dan and giving charity and things like that? Could not quite comprehend.
So you understood the difference between Man and Dan, right? Man is when you relate to somebody as your superior, and Dan is when you relate to somebody as your inferior.
Yes, Prabhu.
So Vishwanath Chakravarti makes the point that these two relationships are temporary because they're predicated on karma. This is what creates a separatist mentality. I'm superior to somebody, I'm inferior to somebody. But if you understand that this is simply a product of karma and temporary, then the reason that you will give respect to the other, the man, is by understanding that the Lord is residing in the body of that jiva as his friend and well-wisher. So then you will respect that jiva because you respect the Lord. Remember, these verses are for those who respect the Lord, but for whatever reason, neglect the jivas. So they're not being talked about the need to respect the Lord. That's already there. The point that is made here is because the Lord is living in the body of this jiva, then one automatically will respect them because the Paramatma is residing. Now, what about Dan? How do you give Dan without considering the other person to be inferior? Is when you understand that the soul and the super soul are always transcendental. So the fact that the jiva is in an unfortunate condition is in no way a reflection of the inferiority of that soul. The soul has the same transcendence as your soul. So that way one can give dan with an open mind and heart. That I'm not giving dan because I'm superior and the other person is inferior. I'm simply acknowledging the confluence of karma, which is temporary by nature. Today it is him, tomorrow it may be me who is requesting for help. So if one develops these two tattva darshanas, these two understandings, then one can act in a way that is recommended by the Lord. Is that okay?
Prabhu, thank you. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. We know that according to Rupa Goswami, the essence of bhakti is to please the Lord. Please and help us to please. And now we learn that the essence of bhakti also is to love that what the Lord loves. That means if we put this together, there we learn that we have to please the Lord. Now, how to please the Lord is to love what the Lord loves. That means the jiva.
Yes, yes. And we see that in the life of devotees, right? That by nature, they are saintly. So in the things like helping the less fortunate, being kind to Mother Nature, being in a mood of service, that grows as their devotion grows. So we see it symptomatically. Here, Lord Kapila is stating it as a principle.
And the other thing is about like sometimes if you want to help the jivas, those who do philanthropic work, they're also loving the jivas, and also loving the jivas is to give them the holy name, which is higher than philanthropic work. But sometime in time of emergency, the person would need some physical help, like what is happening in India right now. Oh, not only India, many places of the world. And when the person is hungry, they need food right now. If you would go and tell them to chant the holy name, they will say, "Go away! What are you talking about?" And how do we understand this?
So actually, this is a good point. You can understand this by the activities that are being done by, you're giving the example of India. So ISKCON is very active in India right now. They are reaching out to places where people are sick and distributing prasadam. Their doctors are helping people out. So they're not going everywhere and saying that that death is inevitable and your body is temporary. So this is not the time to say that. And frankly speaking, it's a different level of realization. So yes, this is the time to help them in a way that they need it the most, but in a way that we can connect it to Krishna also. Like the point I was making, that they're distributing prasadam, so they're eating, but they're also making spiritual advancements. And wherever else. Like I said, this is not the time for them to beat them on the head with, take a Bhagavad Gita and take Panchapati. It's not the time for that. But their hearts will open by themselves. And this is the secret sauce of Christianity. That whenever there is a disaster, the Christian missionaries are there up front, right there, risking their life with a lot of personal sacrifice. They go there. They don't really preach a lot. They're just there. They run hospitals, they give food, etc. And then people's hearts, they just open up. They say, these are nice people, we have to be like them. And they follow the path. So this is essentially an implementation of this verse that Lord Kapila has spoken. That if you love the jivas in relationship to Lord, through man and dan, then through you they'll get connected to Lord.
Yes, and I don't want to be political, but they use this as a very great, as you said, a very sharp arrow in time of distress. When there's a distress situation, they are there. They help people. And like this, a lot of conversion has happened.
Yes. I've personally talked to people at the situation that they've gone to villages where they were affected by famine. The government was not affected. This is in India, and this is in the tribal villages in the Far East. The government was not helping them. They were basically starving. And the Christian missionaries came up and they started distributing food and medicines. And so I was talking to this person, and she was a Christian, or she got converted to Christianity. And then she was saying this point that why would I not want to be like these people who are kind and gentle, and when the people who were supposed to take care of us were not taking care of us, they came and helped me. And I could say she was sincere in the statements that she was making. Now, in the bigger scheme of things, of course, as you were saying, the proselytizing is becoming more of a, what is it called? Becoming more of a conquest now. It's like I'm bigger than you, my congregation is bigger than you, etc. And just the influence of how materialism begins to impact everything. But the underlying notion, if it is pure, it is recommended and very powerful.
The Maslow hierarchy of need.
Hmm?
Maslow hierarchy of need.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
True.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So let's move on to verse 28. Jiva Shrestha Hayavijana Jiva Shrestha Hayavajivana Tatha Pran Vrita Shubhe Tatha Sachittaha Pravaras Tataschendriya Vrityaha. Living entities are superior to inanimate objects, O Blessed Mother, and among them, living entities who display life symptoms are better. Animals with developed consciousness are better than them, and better still are those who have developed sense perception. So Lord Kapila is now talking about the gradations of living entities. And there's a chart that I send you that actually summarizes the verses 28 to 34, where Lord Kapila will talk about the different grades of material existence of the in the material world, all the way from inanimate objects to the pure devotees. So yes, thank you, Prabhu. So this is the chart that he or this is the hierarchy that he shows. So in the previous verses, Lord Kapila has emphasized on the importance of having samadrishti, equal vision. Now, the point that he will make over here by talking about the gradations of the living entities is that equal vision does not mean loss of discrimination. So one should discriminate based on the gradation of the living entities. So one should discriminate, but this discrimination should be used for universal benefit. Right? So for instance, one should discriminate between the grades of devotees. If there was no need to discriminate, then Rupa Goswami would not talk about Kanishtadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and Uttamadhikari. The Bhagavatam would not talk about Mahabhagavat and a Madhyamadhikari and a Kanishtadhikari. The reason they're talking is because they want us to discriminate between the grades of devotees. They want us to discriminate between devotees and non-devotees. They want to discriminate between those who are innocent and those who are envious. But the discrimination is motivated by a desire to protect your own bhakti and, more importantly, be able to serve the others. Right? If you do not discriminate, then you will not be able to serve the others properly. And Prabhupada gives an example in the purport. He says that we must treat the lower living entities compassionately. But this does not mean that we have to treat them in the same way we treat other human beings. The feeling of equality must be there, but the treatment should be discriminating. Just how discrimination should be maintained is given in the following 6 verses according to the different grades of living entities. Right? So important to understand this difference, that samadrishti is the equalness of compassion, the equalness of love. Discrimination is how to best give that compassion and love. So if you are in the presence of a king, then you should not give the king alms in charity. The king does not need any alms in charity. Does not need any food from you. The king may need spiritual sustenance. The king may need to hear the message of the scriptures. If you are in the presence of a starving person, no need to sit there and then talk about the glories of the holy name. The person is so hungry, he will not be able to listen to what you are saying. So the same compassion is manifested differently. So the equalness is of compassion, and the discrimination is on how it is manifested. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says that this is the difference between the vision of a bhakta and a jnani. Unlike the jnani, the devotee does not have to see everyone with equal vision, but gradations. So that is why the heart of a jnani becomes hard, because they only see or try to see the soul. They do not see anything else. So if a person comes to them with suffering, the jnani will say that this is just your body. You are the soul. Just step away from it and the suffering will be gone. Valid, all valid points, but devoid of compassion. A devotee will take into account the situation in which the person is. But yes, the person is invested in the body is suffering, will take care of the body, and will also give the mercy of the Lord. That is why it is said that Krishna, and through Krishna the devotees, they not only give you what you want, they also give you what you need. So you go to a devotee wanting food, the devotee gives you prasadam. So your want is fulfilled, your hunger is fulfilled, and your need is fulfilled, which is being connected to Krishna. So this verse talks about the gradation beginning from the non-living entities. So superior to the non-living entities are those that display symptoms of life, like grass. Then superior to them are those that have a pran, which have some kind of breathing. Vishwanath Chakravarti says such as living stones. Superior to them are the conscious mountains with earth and teeth, which in the beginning had movements such as flying but are stunned by Indra's thunderbolt. So these are still objects that we consider as inanimate, but are actually animate, but with a low level of consciousness. Prabhupada would say that anything that is maintained has a super soul, and the super soul is never alone. It has a soul. Vishwanath Chakravarti is making the same point, that mountains have a soul and rocks have a soul, but the consciousness is very, very limited. Prabhupada in the purport says that in the Moksha Dharma section of the Mahabharata, it is stated that trees have developed sense perception. They can see and smell. We know by experience that trees can see. And then he gives an example that if a tree is growing and you put an hindrance, then the trunk will grow around that hindrance. Or if you're growing a tree and the sun is coming in a certain direction, then this tree sees that light and turns towards it. Prabhupada said this means that the tree can see. And according to Mahabharata, the tree can also smell. This indicates the development of self-perception. Okay, next verse, 29. Tatrapi sparsha veddebhya pravara rasa vedinaha tebhyo gandhavidaha shreshtas tataha shabda vidovaraha. Among the living entities who have developed sense perception, those who have developed the sense of taste are better than those who have developed only the sense of touch. Better than them are those who have developed the sense of smell. And better still are those who have developed the sense of hearing. So now the further categories of jivas, they all have sense perception. And they are being classified that those with the taste sensation, they're conscious of what is suitable or unsuitable as food. And the example is like worms. And they're considered to be superior to the trees. Then entities with the sense of smell, the example is the small insects that are found in flowers. And they are superior to the worms. Then superior to them are the entities who protect themselves by hearing, such as some water insects. And Prabhupada explains similar, that better than the trees are the fish, because the fish have developed a sense of taste. Better than the fish are the bees, who have developed a sense of smell. And better than them are the serpents, because they have a sense of hearing. In the darkness of the night, the snake finds its eatables simply by hearing the frog's very pleasant cry. Now, the frog's cry is not pleasant, but Prabhupada mentions it in the context of the snake. For the snake, it is pleasant because for the snake, it means that there is food. Prabhupada also writes this to debunk the theory of evolution. He says that the Westerners accept that Darwin first expounded the doctrine of evolution, the science of anthropology. And then he said this is not new. The development of the evolutionary process was known long before from the Bhagavatam, which was written 5,000 years ago. There are records of the statements of Kapila Muni, who was present almost in the beginning of creation. This knowledge has existed since the Vedic time. And all these sequences are disclosed in Vedic literature. The theory of gradual evolution or anthropology is not new to the Vedas. Verse 30. Rupa med vidas tatra tataschabhya tataha tatha chobhyo to dataha tesham bahu padaha shreshtas chatushpadas tato dvipat. Better than those living entities who can perceive sound are those who can distinguish between one form and another. Better than them are those who have developed upper and lower sets of teeth. And better still are those who have many legs. Better than them are the quadrupeds. And better still are the human beings. So amongst those who have sense perceptions, those who can see. So distinguishing forms means those who can see, they are considered to be superior. And superior to those are those creatures that have upper and lower jaws with teeth. Superior to those are creatures with many legs. like centipedes and bees. And four-legged animals are superior to many-legged animals, and the human beings, who are two-legged, are superior to them. So when it is said that a being is superior to another one, the understanding is that the quality of the body is superior. And Vishnu Chakravarti makes the point that by knowledge from scriptures, it is understood that mountains like Govardhan and Venkatachal and plants like Tulasi are superior and more worthy of respect because of even greater qualities. So the point that he's making is that this superiority is established more on the basis of material qualities, because then a plant like Tulasi would be considered to be just a plant and inferior, and a mountain like Govardhan would be considered to be even more inferior. But when we look at it from the eyes of the scriptures, then we see that the qualities in Govardhan and Venkatachal and the qualities in Tulasi make them worthy of respect because of their close association with the pastimes of the Lord. So this verse gets us to the point of the humans. So the subsequent verses will talk about gradations within humans. Verse 31. Tato varnascha chatvaras tesham brahmanuttamaha brahmanashevapi vedagyo ayarthogya bhayadikastataha. Among human beings, the society which is divided according to the quality and work is best. And in that society, the intelligent men who are designated as Brahmanas are best. Among the Brahmanas, one who has studied the Vedas is the best. And amongst the Brahmanas who have studied the Vedas, one who knows the actual purport of the Veda is the best. So now, further gradations amongst human beings. So when Lord Kapila is saying the society that is divided according to the quality and work, so he's talking about the Varnashram, that those humans, amongst the human beings, those humans who live according to the principles of Varnashram Dharma are considered to be superior. Now, amongst those who are following the Varnashram Dharma, the Brahmanas are considered to be superior. And then further gradation of the Brahmanas is given. So Prabhupada says that when a person is trained to understand the absolute truth, such a person is called Brahman. So Brahmana is one who understands the Brahman, the absolute truth. Now, when this person becomes Vedagya, that he understands the essence of the Vedas, that person is superior. And Prabhupada says that one who understands the term Bhagavan to mean the Supreme Personality of Godhead is considered to be the best of the Brahmins or a Vaishnava. Okay. Verse 32. Artho gyat samshaya cheta tatha shreyan swakarma krat mukta sangas tato bhuyan adogda dharma matmanaha. Better than the Brahman who knows the purpose of the Vedas is he who can dissipate all doubts. And better than him is one who strictly follows the Brahmanical principle. Better than him is one who is liberated from all material contamination. And better than him is a pure devotee who executes devotional service without expectation of reward. So better than a person who knows the essence of the Veda is one who does prachar. Because the former is taking care of himself, the latter is taking care of others. So better than a Vedagya is one who is doing prachar. So these are what we call that every stage, it subsumes the stage prior to it. So the person who is doing prachar is the Vedagya who is doing prachar. Not that a person is just arbitrarily speaking, but a person who understands the essence of the scriptures and is also preaching. Better than the person who is preaching is a person who is achar prachar. Right? So so better than him is one who strictly follows the Brahmanical principles, which means that he is living his life according to the way that he is telling others to live their lives. So when he performs his duties, he is also setting an example for others to perform their duties. Then the better than him is one who is liberated from all material contamination. So this is a jnani. So the jnani is situated in the Atma Jnana. I'm not the body, I'm not the body, I am the soul. So he does not accept the results of his previous actions of karma. So he is situated in transcendence. Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he talks about the next stage. So better than him is a pure devotee. And Prabhupada says that the highest perfectional Brahman is the Vaishnava. A Vaishnava who knows the science of the absolute truth, but is not able to preach such knowledge to others, is described in the lower stage. One who not only understands the principles of the science of God, but can also preach in the second stage, is in the second stage. And one who not only can preach, but also sees everything in the absolute truth, and the absolute truth in everything is in the highest class of Vaishnavas. It is mentioned here that a Vaishnava is already a Brahman. In fact, the highest stage of Brahmanical perfection is reached when one becomes a Vaishnava. So Srila Prabhupada talks about it, even though now it's not that much of a controversy. But at one point there was this controversy of how do Vaishnavas and Brahmins relate to one another. Because Brahmins, even though not recommended or supported in the scriptures, they're considered to be by birth. And Vaishnavism, it does not subscribe to that notion that regardless of birth or prior activities, anybody can become a Vaishnava. So there was this big conflict between Brahmins and Vaishnavas. The Brahmins would say that Vaishnavism is not bona fide. And at one point, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he gave this famous speech, Vaishnava Ke, that who is a Vaishnava, and basically established the point that Srila Prabhupada is talking about here, that Brahman is great, and a Vaishnava who is properly performing is also a Brahman, but even more so. Okay, so next verse, 33. Tasman maya apittate apitashesh kiyartatma nirantaraha mayarpitatmanaha pumsho mai sannyasa karmanaha Na pashyami param bhutam akartu samadarshana. Therefore, I do not find a greater person than he who has no interest outside of mine and who therefore engages and dedicates all his activities and all his life, everything unto me without cessation. So 2 verses, 33 and 34, Lord Kapila, he says that the best person is he who has exclusive interest in the Lord. Now, this exclusive interest is by nature inclusive, right? And we have already established that interest in the Lord means interest in those that the Lord has interest in. But the term exclusive is used to indicate that the interest is exclusively coming from only one source, which is the interest of the Lord. There is no personal motivation for the interest. So this verse talks about a devotee. So Lord Kapila is saying that superior to the Jnani is the person who engages in the worship of the Lord's name and form. And artha. So he offers his wealth. Then he offers his identity of I and mine. Then atma. Atma in this context means mind and intelligence. So what is the characteristic of such a devotee? That he offers his material possession. He offers his subtle possession, his atma, which is mind and intelligence. He offers his spiritual possession, which is the identity that I am the jiva, and he offers it without the impurity of karma and jnana. Nirantar. Nirantar means without cessation, without any material influence. The nature of material influence is that it will inevitably cause cessations. So when the Lord says Nirantar, then it is the same as saying without any material influence. So, Mai Sanyasta Karmana, that he renounces all his karma, Sanyasta karma, in order to attain the Lord. So in 325:22, Lord Kapila had said to Devahuti, that such a sadhu engages in staunch devotional service to the Lord without deviation. For the sake of the Lord, he renounces all of the connections, such as family relationships and friendly acquaintances within the world. So he reaches the stage of being akartaha. Akartaha is that he reaches the stage of being a non-doer. So since he considers himself as a servant of the Lord, he thinks that even this performance of bhakti is because of the mercy of the Lord. So that is the extent of submissiveness that this person develops. What else? How does he relate to others? He sees all the others' happiness and distress as his own. Lord says, Sama Darshanat. Same point, similar point made by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 32, where he says that the perfect yogi sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and distress. So we can see that Lord Kapila, even though he is saying that such a person gives up Maya Sanyasta Karmana. Maya Sanyasta Karmana means that he has given up Varnashram. He has given up all notions of prescribed duties. But Samadarshana. but he continues to see the others from the perspective of fellow human beings, that their happiness is mine and their distress is also mine. So the same point is being summarized with the in this 2 verses. And the reason he's able to see them is because see them in this way is because he is seeing them in relationship to the Lord. And Prabhupada emphasizes on that. He says that the Sam Darshanat means that such a person does not have a separate interest from the Lord. The interest of the devotee and the distress interest of the Lord are one and the same. And then Prabhupada criticizes the Mayavadis. They say that sometimes they define, he says that sometimes the Mayavadis, they define the word Samdarshana to mean that the devotee should see himself as one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He says this is foolishness. And Lord Kapila is emphasizing on it by or disambiguating that notion by using the word akaruto, without any sense of proprietorship. If one were to think of oneself as a Lord, then one would think as oneself as the proprietor of everything. Right? That's what the nature of Lord is. That everything belongs to him. So clearly, the Sam Darshana does not mean seeing yourself as the Lord. Sam Darshana means that seeing your interest as the same with the Lord. Okay, let's go to verse 30. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think Wednesday we will finish this chapter, hopefully. But let me pause over here and see if there's any discussion.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So somewhat a tangential question, it's not exactly on this topic, about Varnashrama society, or Prabhupada, we know, wanted to establish Varnashrama system. But we know that by default, the 4 classes of people are always there in any society, even if it is not called as Varnashrama. So what is the difference? So we do have even in communist country, they have 4 classes of men. And, so what is the difference between what Prabhupada wants to do and what is already naturally there without being called as Varnashrama? So is the, I'm just trying to know that people, by nature, people are there, priestly and business like, and then all these people are there already. So what Prabhupada actually wants to do in that when he says like that? Briefly, maybe.
So the difference is that of purification. That when one follows the Varnashram that is given in the scriptures, then one also obtains purification. Right? So you're right that by the natural force of law, by the natural law of nature, there is this division. There is this division of the Varnas and the Ashram. There is no purification over there because one is simply acting according to their swabhav. There's no notion of submitting yourself to control your senses, act according to your prescribed duties. That if you're a grahastha, then give in charity. If you're a brahmachari, then live a life of austerity. Right? So just because a person is not married does not make a person a brahmachari. The Vedas give more set of responsibilities and do's and don'ts. So that is missing. That the purification that is offered through following the rules and regulations of the varnashrams as given in the scriptures. And Srila Prabhupada wanted something else, something more. So he wanted Devi Varnashram, right? There are three kinds of Varnashram. There is Karma Varnashram, Jnana Varnashram, and Devi Varnashram, which is Karma, Jnana, and Bhakti. So Srila Prabhupada wanted Devi Varnashram, wherein one follows the Varna and Ashram in a way that helps them develop their Bhakti. So, for instance, in Karma Varnashram, the focus of each Varna and Ashram is to improve your material situation, either in this life or in the next life. The focus of Jnana Varnashram is that you attain liberation. And Devi Varnashram, the focus is that you attain Bhakti. So essentially that is what, so you are specifically asking what Prabhupada wanted. Prabhupada wanted us to follow Devi Varnashram, where the Grahastha is not only doing the duties of a Grahastha, but doing them in a certain way that is creating an environment that is conducive to Krishna consciousness. That if a Grahastha gives in charity, then he gives in charity for preaching purposes, for serving the devotees, serving the deities. So that's an example of following Devi Varnashram.
So in other words, can you say just briefly that in the modern society we have Varna but no Ashrama?
We have both. We have Varna, we have Ashram also. I mean, there is this notion of people who are retired and who are in married life, but there's semblances of it. They look like it. It's like a reflection of it, because it's there. It's been set up by Krishna, that Guna Karma Vibhagasha. So it's there, but because it is not anchored in the Vedas, it's just a semblance of it. It establishes some level of structure in the society, but it really does not give any of the benefits that Varnashram is supposed to give, whether it is karma or Gyan or Devi.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
One last comment. The interest of the Lord, we know that everything boils down to that, is to bring back the jiva back home, no?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those who assist in that process are very dear to him, as said in Bhagavad Gita, last chapter, the last verse. I mean, we understood the essence of bhakti is to love what the Lord loves, and then the interest of the Lord is to bring back the jiva home.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good point you're making. That ultimately, when one aligns to that interest of the Lord, then the favorable disposition of the Lord increases, because you're aligning to one of his core interests, which is to help the conditioned souls. That's why such a soul is actually set at the apex. When he's setting up the gradations, then one who explains the scriptures, higher than that is one who lives by it, higher than that is one who preaches it, higher than that is one who preaches and loves and lives by it. And then the highest is one whose interest is completely aligned with the Lord. So thank you for making that point. Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhayaschet kripa sindhu vyaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thai Gaur Premanand. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.